Could we start maybe with just a short background, your history as a practitioner, or what sort of sparked you to pursue Ayurveda?
So I started the journey of not Ayurveda, but just Vedic wisdom at the age of 16 when I was initiated by a guru in Marma Chikitsa or Marma Nadi, which is the energy points. And after being with my guru for 8 years, that's when I pursued my official kind of qualification in Indian naturopathic and yogic sciences. And then I went forward and did my master's in integrative medicine from UK, and then of course migrated to Canada. So I've got an experience of three continents practicing the Indian medicine as whole. That includes Ayurveda, yoga, Indian naturopathic medicine, and the energy medicines that are based on Vedic systems of healing. What I really find interesting is that, especially in North America, is that people are really interested in understanding the roots of this wisdom, and wanting. So those who have got gravitated to Ayurveda or yoga, they really want to go to the roots of it rather than be on the superficial level, and that's amazing. And that basically brings us in a place of being able to share through learning, through education, through sharing.
And do you remember what the root of it was for you? You know, when you were so young when you started. Like, do you remember working with the body in certain ways, or were there certain things that were effective to you that really pushed you forward into that pursuit?
So my journey was very interesting. I was very naive. I was initiated by a guru. The guru invited me, the teacher invited me to come and learn this wisdom. I had no clue. I just started. I was in my first year of architecture study. And in India, as a tradition, my parents were more thrilled than I was that I was chosen by a teacher. So they kind of, encouraged me to go forward and at least explore. And that exploration, the first year was like I didn't know what I was doing, why I'm here. I don't like to be here, but I'm respecting my parents and respecting the teacher. But after that first year, I never knew that I had so much of the healing energy within myself that I could share with so many people. And that self understanding, not just of the wisdom, but also about your own abilities to do goodness to humankind, was the awakening for me.
Having worked with you and been your student, uh, you have such sort of a caring presence to people, and you really listen to people. And in your experience, when people come to you for Ayurvedic treatment or consultation, why do you think they're coming to you? What are they looking for through that treatment?
So now that I've been around for almost 30 years in this practice, and out of that 20 years in Canada, people that particularly come to me is more through word of mouth, because someone has got healed through Ayurvedic medicine. So that's where it is. But when I'm working with students and my graduates and I ask them the same question, that why are people coming to you? Their answer is, which I would take it more closely to what is happening now with the people coming to Ayurveda, is because they're not finding the answers. The diseases have grown. There are a lot more diseases, and within the same diseases, there are more complications. Like we used to understand arthritis only as 3 or 4 kinds of arthritis. Now that has gone, the range has gone to 70 types of arthritis. So the diseases have grown. No one knows what's really happening, and people are coming because they're not getting help anywhere else. So that's where I'm hearing more and more from the newer practitioners or those who have been around for last 10 years, 15 years, that this is how they are finding people coming towards Ayurveda.
Mm. What concepts do you bring to them? Like, how do you how do you sort of relay the Ayurvedic philosophy? Um, what do you think it's helpful to start with for a newcomer?
So first, as a practitioner, we have to understand that the person coming to you they are looking for help. Period. We don't really care whether it is A form of medicine or B form of medicine. They are coming for help, and that's what you want to provide them rather than the philosophy and the sciences behind it. Later on, there is always a room where people want to know, oh, how did this happen? Or why are you asking me to do this? Or why I must not be eating this food? And you can then educate them. So there's a combination of education when it comes to Ayurveda. But at the same time, you really want to come down to the level of the person who's seeking for help, where they are, and how do we start. So that starting point could be different for each one. Someone coming with a lot more theory knowledge, they've read lots of books on Ayurveda, they have the theoretical knowledge, and now they have first time they've approached a practitioner, and that's when you start with them is like, okay, you know all of this, let's see, and what would be important, what aspect, because Ayurveda is vast.
Yeah.
Someone who's unknown to Ayurveda, I usually start with them with body awareness. That's my approach. That you have to be aware of the body, and then through the lens of Ayurveda, make those connections. And that's what gets people fascinated. Oh, yeah, I know. This is what I've been feeling. Yeah, I also kind of knew that these symptoms were associated. And that's what gets them more into understanding Ayurveda.
Shifting their perspective to become more in tune with bodily functions, and really Ayurveda is just a sensitivity to that at its root.
That's right.
Through your experience, like you mentioned, you worked in India, you worked in ashrams in India where you would see so many people per day, do pulse readings all the time. Do you find that there's a difference in expectations in these places? Or, I mean, I'm sure there is some difference, but how
there's
big is
huge
the
difference.
Yeah.
Huge differences. In South Asia, it's very different. People come there thinking that a doctor or a practitioner is next to God. So you can literally do miracles, and miracles happen. Like that's what their belief is. So they're waiting for that miracle to happen through you. So it's a huge kind of uh, pressure on you to show that miracle. And their people are not willing to do the work. They want the practitioner to do all the work for them. And so that's the culture there. Europe, people are willing to do the work. They are definitely a lot more dedicated, I found, willing to do the work. But of course, once the expectation is set and if it is not met, that makes them really unhappy. So you have to be very mindful of the kind of expectation that is set.
And
North
when you
America, people
say,
want quick release.
and when you say doing the work, what would that look like typically?
Typically, if you discuss the diet with the person in Europe, and they will follow the diet almost 90%, right? If you give them a herbal protocol and you say, this is how I'm dosing it and this is the time to take it, and they will do it no matter what. North America, I find that's not the case. People might do the diet 60%. If you give them 100%, they do 60%. If you give them 80%, they might do 50%. So you have to kind of, keep that room knowing that the person might not be able to do it 100% as you have laid it down. And of course, as I said, want quick release. So they don't want to do 100% work, but want the results quicker and faster. So these are just different expectations from different cultures and the way of working. Also, the stress levels are a lot more higher in North America compared to South Asia and compared to Europe. Europe has, the office hours and the corporate life is very different. Lifestyle is very different. Food qualities are very different. So of course, if they're working 100%, the results are also 100%. Here, the food qualities are not that great. So it's reasonable for people to, put only 60-70% because they know that might not have the same result in short span of time.
You mentioned stress levels you find are very high here. Are there things that you notice that in Canada that's very unique to the Canadian population, and where Ayurveda can kind of come in as a tool?
For sure. Let me say things that are really positive and encouraging here in Canada. One is because of the diversity. We have a very diverse population and we have a very diverse foods that we can get here. So there is a lot more room for a practitioner like myself to be able to work with people because we can find many other alternatives, right? Like if a food category is not available, we can always go to a Chinese store or go to a Middle Eastern store, and there's a lot more variety. When it comes to dietetics and nutrition, there's diversity. Also, there's diversity in people and culture and what they bring forward. So as an Ayurvedic practitioner, understanding the constitution of a person is very important. That means understanding the person. Once you've understood the person, their culture, their belief system, their body's strengths, their body's responses, it becomes relatively easy to work with them. And the openness, because people have left their home countries and they've come here, they're a lot more open to newer ways of doing things. It's just the communication has to be clear and there has to be a meeting point.
Yeah, do you find that there is do you subscribe to the idea that there is like a dosha quality to a place? Like, could you say that, we're in a Vata land or a
Yes.
Pitta land, or
you can say about the
compared to India?
continents. Yes, the continents, not a particular country, but definitely South Asian countries are a lot more kapha because they are stuck in the emotion. It's very deep-rooted emotions. It's coming from centuries and centuries of, either it's love or resentment, whatever emotion, they're just kind of there, it's stuck. With Europe, I would say definitely very pitta, very fiery. Like, it has to be very calculated. It has to be very well organized. So that's where I would say that I see a lot of pitta in people from Europe, and especially the Western Europe. And North America, as I said, the stress is very high. So Vata is the dominance here.
Are you seeing this kind of seismic shift happening in the way people are adapting, or anything about, or just in general, the changes you have seen over time here when it comes to Ayurveda?
Pandemic was a very interesting phase that we all went through, and it did its work on possibly everything around. There were a lot of goods also, but then there was a lot of not so good. And in the goodness of things, people did understand that there is limitation when it comes to mainstream medicine. And there are other, options available. Also, preventative medicine is something that people started to look into rather than waiting for a disease to occur and go to the medical doctor and get your treatment. So in health and disease, this is where we saw the big shift. Post-pandemic now, because of the way the lifestyles change, the way people are now living has shifted. For some, it created a lot of stress, a lot more stress. And for some, it eased off the stress. So again, we see now a big division in the people that are haves and haves nots, health and no health. So we are seeing this kind of two extremes now, the polarities that have been created because of. In generally speaking, in Canada, Canada has opened up a lot. When I moved here, I would say that Canada is 25 years behind the world in natural medicine, overall in natural medicine, from research to understanding to number of practitioners available to the application. And now that gap is getting shorter and shorter. We are still behind the world, but from 25, I would say now 10. And I'm hoping that as we progress and more work is being done collectively, this gap will get shorter and shorter.
Yes. Where do you see Ayurvedic's place in health now? There's so much. There's, naturopathy, homeopathy, TCM. Where do you find that Ayurveda fits in with all this?
So, a couple of places I find that Ayurveda can contribute a lot in the under the umbrella of natural medicine. One is as a cost-effective treatment because it's not as expensive as it is buying supplements and other nutraceuticals. Of course, it is getting there because people are choosing more pills and capsules, even with herbs. But generally, it is more of a cost effective. That's where I see that Ayurveda can help a lot of people moving forward. If they're looking into simple ways of helping themselves. And second is Ayurveda, because of its rich roots and understanding in the process of the diseases, we will be able to identify the diseases much before they basically appear. And it can be treated at a pre-stage as well. So that's where I feel like Ayurveda can give a big contribution compared to other forms of natural medicine.
Excellent. Well, I can't thank you enough for having this conversation with me today. And it's definitely worth checking out your school, CAISH, Center for Ayurvedic and Indian Systems of Healing. And I thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Catherine. More than welcome, and hope to meet you soon again on your platform.
Thank you.